You know, one of the, I think, truly most amazing phenomenon in all of world history is the fact that for the last 3,300 and I think it's almost 23 years, Jewish people all over the world, no matter where they are, no matter where they come from, continuously, generation after generation, have been studying the Torah, the same Torah, the identical Torah, passed from one generation to the next to this very day. Studying it with seriousness, as you could see, studying it with excitement, as you could feel, studying it with commitment and dedication. It doesn't make any sense. Thousands of years. We're now, Shavuos, another few weeks, will be 3,323 years from Har Sinai, when the Torah was first given to the Jewish people. And yet, here we are. And you think it's only the people here? It's all over the world. Wherever you go, day and night and day, the different time zones of the world, and people that you would have thought by today wouldn't even know that they're Jewish. And yet, sometimes they come out of the woodwork. They appear from nowhere. There were generations that were lost. And here they are back in the Beis Medrash, back at the Gemara, back at the Chumash, back at the Shulchan Aruch. And they're comfortable, and they're fulfilled, and they're happy, and they pass it on to the next generation. I don't believe that there's anything in the world. I don't believe that there has ever been anything in the world that's been so amazing and so powerful. In fact, there was a great rabbi, Rabbi Yaakov Emden, lived a couple hundred years ago, and in the Hakdama, the introduction to his Siddur, he says, I swear by my life that the miracles that have surrounded the survival of the Jewish people throughout the millennia and the survival of the Torah together with the Jewish people are greater than all of the miracles that happened in Mitzrayim, in Egypt, and on the Yam Suf. The greatest of miracles, the survival of the Jewish people with its Torah intact, studying, observing, committing, and passing it on to the next generation. And I thought that maybe this evening, since there's so much Torah study that goes on in this room, I guess in this building, it would be appropriate to explore a little bit what this secret of Torah study is all about. Why is it so attractive? Why does it grip the heart, the minds and the hearts of Jewish people throughout the ages? And it seems to have, to those who are exposed, an irresistible pull. They can't resist it. They're drawn to it. Many people have even expressed a sense of déjà vu when they come to study Torah for the first time, and they know that they've never been there before. They say, I've been here before. I've been here. Something's familiar. Like it's not the first time. Like an eerie feeling of familiarity, of experience, of appreciating that experience. I'd like to explore that for a moment. But I'd like to explore in the process something else as well. You know, when the Jew leaves the Torah, and when the Jew gets involved in the material and physical pleasures of the world, he seems to excel in them more than all his non-Jewish neighbors, if you know what I mean. When we are involved in the materialism of the world, in the gashmius of the world, we seem to take it even more seriously and passionately than our non-Jewish neighbors. He gets involved. He comes up with a new idea, comes up with a new combination, comes up with a new twist of things, another way to increase the pleasure, to increase the joy, to enhance the experience. And not only that, in all of the movements of history, and I can't say all, that's too broad a word, but in so many of the significant movements of history that were allegedly dedicated to the improvement of society, they were so often led by Jews. They got involved, whether it was communism or socialism or anything. We're there. We're looking for the greatest maximum pleasure, the greatest excitement, and the greatest sense of tikkun olam, of improving society. And we're at the head and front and center of all of these things. Some of them are very impressive. Some of them are very questionable. Why? Why should we be? We're the people of the book. We appreciate the values of our heritage. Why is it that we're so into everything else in the world? And I'd like to say that it's really dependent one on another. Shlomo HaMelech in Shir HaShirim. Shir HaShirim is written, if you read it literally, it's a love song. It's a love story between a choson and a kala. That's if you read it literally. If you read it allegorically, if you know what the moshel stands for, Rashi explains, it describes the relationship between the Creator and the Jewish people. The love, the romance, the caring, the difficulties, the estrangement that sometimes takes place in history, and the rapprochement when they come back together again. All described so eloquently in Shir HaShirim. And at the very beginning, Shlomo HaMelech says, the Klal Yisrael, the Jewish people say to Hashem, they say to God, Yishokeinim in shikois piu. Ki toivim doidecho miyayin. Oh, if the Melech would kiss me again. Kiss me on the lips, min shikois piu. Because my friendship, our friendship, the love between us, is more pleasurable to me than any, Rashi says, mishte yayin v'simcha, than any wine, than any enjoyment, than any pleasure in the world. And Rashi explains that the Jewish people, even in the distant golus, in the distant exile, maybe thousands of years from the experience at Sinai, the experience where we connected with Hashem, the experience where the Creator spoke directly to us, where millions of eyewitnesses heard the Creator speaking, and He introduced Himself. He said, Shalom Aleichem, Anoichi Hashem Elokecha asher otzeisicha me'eretz Mitzrayim mibeis avodim. I'm the God. You know all those miracles you saw in Egypt? We just celebrated that with Pesach. You know all the miracles that happened? You know all of those amazing things that no human being could have possibly perpetrated? That's me. I did them all. I'm the Creator. And now I'm going to tell you the purpose for which I created the world, the purpose for which I created you, the purpose for which I took you out of Mitzrayim. Lo yeh lecho Elohim acherem al ponai. Don't have any other gods. Follow my directives. This that I'm giving you, whether it be the 10 Commandments or the entire Torah that was taught to Moshe Rabbeinu, dictated to Moshe, and given and taught and passed on through that generation to generation after generation, this is my manual. This tells you the purpose for which you were created. And that experience, that's what Shlomo HaMelech refers to as Yishokeinim and Shikois Piu, as a kiss from the Borei Olam, from the Creator, is something that today, Tovim doidecho miyayin, that memory is more pleasurable to us than any physical pleasure in the world. Mikol mishte yayin v'simcha, yishokeinim and shikois piu. We await again that you should reveal yourself as you did at Sinai, and so to speak, kiss us on the mouth, because that pleasure that we remember is greater than any mishte yayin v'simcha, than any party, than any thrill, than any wine, than any enjoyment, than any pleasure that we could possibly enjoy. Question. How many of us remember standing at Sinai? My next question would have been if there's a mental health professional in the audience. We don't have a conscious memory of standing at Sinai. But it must be that there's a subconscious memory. The experience of the Creator speaking to our people. You know, our rabbis tell us that all of the neshomos, that all the souls of all the Jewish people from all the future generations all stood there at Sinai also. It wasn't in our minds, it wasn't in our bodies, but we were there. And something was left over. The thrill, the excitement, the passion, the uplift, the happiness, the fulfillment, that sense of ecstasy, that sense of connection with our Creator. We felt that. And subconsciously, it's buried deep, deep in the subconscious mind of every single Jew. And what happens? When we experience life and we try to enjoy life, we have a problem. I take a glass of wine. Many people could enjoy it. I can't enjoy it because I compare it subconsciously to the memory that I have of my connection with my God at Sinai. This is not pleasure. Consciously, I don't know why, but I can't enjoy it. So when I can't enjoy it, what do? I try another one. Still not. And another one. And another one. And another one. And then if that doesn't work, I try something else. There are other things besides wine in the world. And all the pleasures, I indulge and I indulge and I overindulge because I'm competing with a subconscious memory that I'm not even aware that I'm competing with. Because I stood at Sinai. Remember subconsciously that happened at Sinai. There's only one time, Rashi tells us in Shira, right there in the beginning, that he can compete with that memory. Rashi says, that's why we ask him, Yishokeni, kiss us again. Reveal yourself to us again, as you did at Sinai. Because that pleasure in my subconscious memory is greater than all the pleasures that I tried to fulfill in life. And I ask you again, give me that pleasure. And Rashi explains that when the Jewish people delight, mishtashim, they delight in divrei Torah, mishtashim ba-Torah, vishom mazkirin doidov miyayin. And there they remember that pleasure. They relive that pleasure of Har Sinai more than any other pleasure in the world. And that's why there's so many Jews that are so attracted to the study of Torah. Because the study of Torah connects us to our Kodesh Baruch Hu, to our God. And the study of Torah allows us to relive the experience at Sinai. And that experience is the experience that interferes with every physical and material pleasure that we attempt to have throughout our lives. Because it's a memory of such intense and refined and lasting fulfillment and meaning and purpose and pleasure that nothing can compete with it. Only the experience of studying the Torah again. And when we study the Torah again, we can relive the Sinai experience. The Torah says that the bracha that we make, Birchas HaTorah, Shebochar Bonu Mikol Ha'amim, V'nosan Lonu Es Torosoi, that Hashem chose us, we thank Hashem for choosing us from all the nations and giving us His Torah. That bracha goes on Maimon Har Sinai. Every day before we study Torah, we make a bracha for the gift of Sinai, for the experience that Hashem appeared to us and taught us and revealed to us His Torah at Sinai. We make that bracha every day. Because when we sit down to study Torah, in some way, some more, some less, some feel it more, some feel it less, some appreciate it more, some appreciate it less. It usually has to do with how developed and refined my skills and my involvement and my level of learning is. And the more I learn to appreciate it, the more I can feel that. But it's re-experiencing Har Sinai. And therefore we make the brocha on the study of Torah. The brocha is for that gift of Sinai. That HaKadosh Baruch Hu appeared to us at Sinai and revealed to us His Torah. And it's this pleasure that's the greatest of all pleasures. And it's for this reason that we crave that connection with our God, that we try desperately when we don't have it to fill the void with all types of alternative pleasure and fulfillment, but we never seem to succeed because that memory of the past, that subconscious memory of the past, never lets us experience the true and the ultimate pleasure because of what we're constantly comparing it to. Now, the problem is that many people study Torah and they can't tell you that they have this experience. Many people will study Torah and they'll tell you they do have this experience. Now, there's no question that this experience can be felt on a subconscious level, which we will not necessarily perceive because we're not directly in touch with our subconscious, certainly not all the time. But it can also be felt on a conscious level. But it's something that has to develop. You see, we have to develop. If a person doesn't have the skills, I want to tell you something, just a little story. Something I learned as an educator. I thought I'm an old educator for so many years. And I just learned a couple of weeks ago a basic lesson of something that I never had any idea. It was a young man in the yeshiva who is not really involved in the learning. Very fine, very religious, very good-natured, midos, everything. But the learning just didn't work. The intellectual involvement in the learning just wasn't working. A number of times I sat down to learn with him. We opened up the Gemara and we started to learn. And okay, he gets it. He's okay. There's something there. He's intelligent, but nothing to write home about, like they say. You know, no great shakes. He has trouble. He had trouble. He has trouble reading. He can't really read the Gemara. It's difficult. After this month was over, I called him to my office and I said, I want to sit down with you and learn. No books opened. There were no books on the table. Nothing. This guy, he's amazing. He understands the learning. He interacted as if he was a scholar in his own right. It's not the same person that I studied with in the Beis Medrash with the Gemara open. And I realized that he has a handicap. The reading is difficult for him. But the reading created a psychological handicap. That since he couldn't read the text that was in front of him, he was sure he couldn't understand it either. And therefore the learning was very weak. What? It was intelligence, but when there was nothing to read, when we almost said, forget about it. It's called Torah Sheba'al Peh. It's the oral Torah. Let's study it without books. Without books? I'm a star. I'm smart. I'm alert. I know how to learn. There are many factors that go into our appreciation and enjoyment of Torah. As we learn and perfect our skills, as we learn better how to read, as we learn better how to analyze, as we develop the ability to think and to delve to the depths in such infinite depth in the words of our rabbis, in the thinking process, in the discovery process, in the argumentation process, in the analysis process, as we develop those tools, and as we develop that sense, and as we develop that confidence, the pleasure is increasing exponentially. I analyze, I feel, I discover. Wow! Now I can begin to see what Rashi means when he says, we are delighting mishta'ashim b'Torah, when we delight in the Torah, because I've learned how to read, and because I've learned how to think, because I've learned how to analyze, and because I understand where it's coming from and what it's doing and how it stems from the psukim that were in the Torah to the discussion in the Mishnah and the Gemara, and I get it all. I know where it's coming from, where it's going to, and I can delve into it, and I have the tools to get in myself and to analyze it, to figure out exactly what's going on. Now I delight in the Torah. And I know something? It's a greater pleasure than all the physical pleasures of the world. And that's why people throughout the generations have given up so much for the study of Torah, have sacrificed so much for the study of Torah. And if you have a question, I notice you serve dinner here, is that correct? So if you have a question, if it's so pleasurable, why do they have to have dinner every night? Dinner's just for the body. The body has to be attracted, because if your body doesn't feel like coming here, then your soul can't come on its own, right?
It's a bribe.
What?
It's a bribe.
Yeah, it's a bribe. No, it's a bribe to the body. The soul doesn't need any bribes. It's like you pay the transportation fee, because if the body's not going to come, you don't have the wheels to get here. The soul hovering outside is not a good situation to be in, if you know what I mean. When we're alive, the body and the soul are together. So we have to attract the body to get on board with the program, so we give it a little food, we give it a little this, we give it a little that. But the soul is nourished by the Torah and feels such a simcha, feels such happiness, feels such enjoyment, such pleasure. Mikol, Rashi says, mishteyayim b'simcha, more than any pleasure that exists in the world. And this can be developed, and this is developed, and the more we learn, the more it develops. But it goes much further than that. The Jew that studies Torah in depth doesn't have any questions. Many people, when they started to study, they didn't get it exactly. Well, what is this all about? Where do we come from? What's our religion about? How do we know we're right? About this, about that, about the other thing. And we have to explain to them that Judaism is different from all of the other religions, and all other religions claim that there was a private revelation by a God to an individual, and that individual came and told everybody that he had this revelation. Some people believed him, some people didn't believe him, and eventually he developed a following. And this is true for Christianity and for Islam and for Mormon and for so many of the other religions. Only one religion, Judaism, which predated all of these religions, has a whole different story. There was public demonstration, public miracles. The Creator revealed himself publicly to an entire nation, millions of people, with all types of miracles that they clearly saw that they're in contact with the Creator. And then this Creator brings them all together, millions of people, at Sinai, not to mention all the souls of all the rest of us, and speaks to them and says, hello, I'm the one that did all those miracles, I'm the Creator. Now I'm going to tell you what the purpose of my creation is. Unprecedented and unparalleled in any claim in all of history, that the Creator himself, who clearly identified himself in the miracles that he performed in Egypt as the Creator, subsequently comes and reveals himself to all of us at Sinai and says, that's me. Now I'm going to tell you the reason. Now I'm going to tell you the purpose. Now I'm going to tell you what it's all about. Now I'm going to give you the manual by which to lead the life. So this is really something that's very special. But I suggest to you, from my experience, that I have some, has shown me that the Jew that studies Torah on an ongoing basis, it comes daily or comes weekly, and develops the ability to read it, and develops the ability to think it, and develops the ability to analyze it, and develops the ability to delve into its insights. To that Jew, you don't have to tell him any stories about there was a Har Sinai. If you start to tell him about the Har Sinai that was, he'll tell you, stop, ad kan. I made the Birchas HaTorah Shabo Harbonu Mikol Ha'amim, because every time I open the Gemara, every time I open the Chumash, every time I open the Sefer, I feel Har Sinai. I know there was a Har Sinai. I experience a piece of Har Sinai. There's such a thrill to that. And that can happen. It doesn't happen at the initial stages. But as we continue to learn, and as we continue to come, it gives us that greatest of pleasures. But what does that pleasure do for us? And I'd like to speak about some of the benefits that we derive from that pleasure. But first and foremost, I'd like to talk about what I believe our society craves more than anything else. Anytime you'll ask a group of people, what is it in life, from life, that you want more than anything else? And after the wise guys start with money and this and that, everybody agrees, there's a consensus around the room that it's one word.
Health.
What?
Good
Health? Not exactly. Something even beyond that. The health is a piece of it. What?
Pleasure.
No. Pleasure is not happiness. Well, do you know the difference between pleasure and happiness? Let's first define happiness, and then we'll define the difference, and then we'll see what the Torah does to give us the happiness in life. Okay? Happiness. How do we know what happiness is? How do we know what anything is? I want to ask you a question. I believe, and I think it's true, I think you'll agree with me, that more money and more effort is invested in the pursuit of happiness than anything else in our society. Everybody's looking for happiness. There's books written, self-help books written about it, seminars and lectures, and everyone's happiness. Everyone wants to be happy. You know, everyone wants to be happy. My question to you is, how come we're not too successful in our pursuit of happiness? And if you think that I'm mistaken about my analysis that we're not successful in the pursuit of happiness, I refer you to suicide rates, drug and alcohol abuse, divorce rates, rates that mental health professionals can charge. It's unreal. If you just have a social worker's degree, you can charge $200, in certain communities at least, $200 an hour for 45 minutes. With 3 phone calls that they make in between. How come? If you're looking for any insurance policy against the economic downturn, become a mental health professional. They're doing great today. They're booked. They're the only people I know. You can't get an appointment with them. The doctors are crying. But the mental health professionals? Oh, I'll be able to see you in 6 months if you live that long. What's going on? Why? Because the world is not a happy place. The pursuit of happiness is pretty much a failure. Why so? Everyone's looking for happiness. Why can't we find it? I have a novel answer to this question. My answer is, you know why people can't find happiness even though they look so intensely for it? Because they don't know what it is. Try looking for something that you don't know what you're looking for. If you don't know what it looks like, you won't find it. You'll trip on it and you won't notice it. We need a definition of happiness. We're very fortunate. We don't have to consult Merriam-Webster to find the definitions for the concepts of life. We have a Torah. We have a Tanakh. We have a Lashon HaKodesh that tells us the essence, the definition of everything in this world. The Lashon HaKodesh is the Lashon of HaKodesh Baruch Hu, of the Creator, the language with which the world was created. And in Lashon HaKodesh, it's different from every other language in the world. In all the languages in the world, every word is what it is only by convention. People agreed to call this a table. That's why it's a table. People agreed to call this a chair and to call this a book. This is a bookcase. There's nothing booky about this or chairy or tabley about this. It's an agreement. It's called convention. People agree. That's in every language. Not so Lashon HaKodesh. In Lashon HaKodesh, there's a 3-letter root. Every word has a 3-letter root. And those 3 letters of the root have a certain meaning. And every time you see them in a word, they are implanting that meaning in the word. Those 3 letters are critical. If you know the roots, you know what the words mean, the roots mean, then you'll always be able to figure out what the word is, and you'll know the essence of the concept. I mean, a good example, just a cute example, would be Aleph, Zayin, Nun, Ozen. Anybody know what that shorish, where that shorish is found? Ozen? The ear is Ozen, right? You know something else that has a shorish of Aleph, Zayin, Nun? What's that? Who? Oh, that's true also, but there's another one. Moznayim. Well, that's the ears. The what? Okay, that's a special thing over there. Well, let's see. But anyway, just want to, briefly, this is not what I want to discuss, but a moznayim is a scale. Now, for thousands of years, people didn't understand why moznayim, scale, is the same root as ozen. until they discovered that in the middle ear is the place of balance. Ozen is balance. We get our spiritual balance by listening through our ear. We get our physical balance, the scale, the balance, through the ear as well. The Aleph, Zayin, Nun represents balance of all types. Wherever it appears, we have to understand that it implants a certain meaning of balance in that word. Okay, let's leave that. What's the highest level of happiness in the world? I would like to suggest that David HaMelech probably knew the highest level of happiness. David HaMelech said, Acha sho'alti be'es Hashem oiso avakesh. Shivti be'beis Hashem. David HaMelech said to sit in the Beis Medrash, to sit in the Beis HaMikdosh, to sit in the house of God, that was his greatest pleasure. That's what he wanted more than anything else. What did David HaMelech say about sitting in the house of Hashem? Ashrei Yoshrei Beiseh. Happy is the one who sits in the house of Hashem. So Ashrei, Osher, with the Shoresh, Aleph, Shin, Reish, represents a high, maybe the highest level of happiness. What does that Shoresh mean? Does anyone know what the Shoresh, Aleph, Shin, Reish means? Rich. What? No, that's with an ayin. Oh, rich? It's with an ayin. I can tell you a little story about that if you appreciate the Hebrew. When I went to Israel many years ago for a date with a young lady who eventually became my wife, we got along great. I spoke no Hebrew, she spoke no English. It was a wonderful relationship. About the second or third date, I don't remember exactly. I asked, I says, "What do you want out of life?" I wanted to know who she is. She said to me, "Ani rotza liot mu'osheret." I thought mu'osheret means rich. I said, she wants my money. I'm getting out of it. Of course, I found out later that with an aleph, it just means happy, not rich. Osher with an ayin is wealthy. Osher with a mu'osheret for a woman, mu'osheret means to be happy. Anyway, happiness, Osher is the highest form of happiness, let's say. The Sheresh means Ishur, the Asher, to validate. Happiness is about feeling good about yourself. Think about it. If a person feels good about him or herself, he's happy. That's it. I feel good about myself. What more can I ask? I'm wonderful. I'm great. I have a purpose. I'm eating. I got everything. I got a life. It's about feeling good about myself. Now, what ingredient is critical, psychologically critical, for a person to feel good about himself? I would suggest that maybe the most important ingredient is purpose. Imagine a life without purpose. I have no purpose. What am I here for? No tachlis, nothing. I live the whole life, I go through everything, all the difficulties, all the problems, whatever it is, no purpose. Or, put it better, I'm just an accident. As one of our scientific friends would have us believe. I'm an accident. No purpose. I can't be happy. I have no validation. I have no purpose. No tachlis. I don't belong here. What's the point? So we have to have a sense of purpose in order to be happy. We could have many different types of purposes. We could have a purpose that says, you know, my purpose, I have an organization. In fact, I actually came here to make an appeal tonight. My organization is involved in eliminating the cockroach population from the Forest Hills area. Cockroaches, the little guys that grow up. I raise $1 million a year to eliminate the cockroaches. You guys are taking me seriously. There's not a lot of cockroaches here.
You do actually.
You do? Okay. Let's not get personal. Anyway, so that's what I do. Yeah, I have a purpose. I get up every morning. I think, oh, today I'm going to try to hit this guy up for $50,000 for my organization to eliminate cockroaches. I'm going to try to hit at least 500 cockroaches today and, get them. Purpose? My life? Good. Raise a couple of bucks? Good. You know why it doesn't make me happy? Because one day I looked in the mirror and I said, maybe you could have done a little better. That's your whole purpose in life. That's what you're here for. Just to get rid of the cockroaches. You're not such a stupid guy. You got a couple of little creative ideas. Maybe you could have have done better in life. And then I realized something else. I said, how do I know what my purpose is? How can I ever know what my purpose is? I just made it up. I decided one day that my purpose is to eradicate cockroaches. So I made an organization, I made it this, I raised the money. But what if that's not my purpose? That can't make me happy because I don't know that's my purpose. If I want to know the purpose of anything, what do I have to do? If I wish to know the purpose of this little piece of technology, there's only one way to know.
The manual to use it.
Consult
The manual.
the manual. Aha. So, I need a manual. Well, the manual for the BlackBerry, that I have. The manual for the recorders, they come with them. The manual for this technology right in front of us, I'm sure we can find it. Where do I find the manual for why I was created in this way? Who's the one who could write such a manual and pass it on to me? Only the Creator himself. I need the manual from the Creator. Didn't we just mention before that the Creator identified himself in Egypt and then delivered to us the manual? He said, Anochi Hashem Elokecha, I'm the one that took you out of Egypt. Lo yeh lecho Elohim acherim al ponai. Here's the manual, the 10 basic directives and the 613 commandments and all of the Torah. We have a manual. I have a manual. That means I have purpose. Just the fact that I'm not an accident gives me the hope that there's purpose. But just knowing that I'm not an accident doesn't give me a clue as to what my purpose is. But if there was a revelation by the Creator who established himself as the Creator in Egypt, and now he's revealed and spoke to us in front of millions of eyewitnesses and given me the manual, and that manual was accurately transmitted for thousands of years. The manual copies that exist in that Aron Kodesh are identical to the manuals that exist in Jewish communities throughout the entire globe, and have been so in the previous generation and the generation before and the generation before, for thousands of years, accurately passed down without even a change in meaning or substance or spelling or words. I have the manual. Wow. I can now know my purpose. I can discover my purpose, and I can be truly happy. If happiness is feeling good about myself, and purpose is necessary to feel good, is critical, is crucial to feel good about myself. And a manual is the only way, a manual from the manufacturer is the only way you could know your purpose. And we have a manual from the manufacturer. Is it any wonder that so many people come to study Torah all the time? We're coming to study the manual. We're coming to study our purpose. We're coming to find our purpose, to learn about our purpose, and to fine-tune the details so that we fulfill our purpose in the most preferable way, bringing us to the highest level of human happiness that's possible. Not to mention all of the reward, all of the kindness that the Creator has created us for, to bestow that kindness upon us. And by studying His manual, and by observing His purposes, He then has justified, we have earned the kindness that He wanted to give us and the purpose for which He created the entire world. So I think there's a lot of benefits in the study of Torah. I think the benefits in the study of Torah are endless. I think that the benefits in the study of Torah, just in the sense of defining my purpose in life and helping me feel good about myself, has so much impact. And to get back to the question that we mentioned before, the difference between happiness and pleasure, it's really very simple. Pleasure makes you sad, not happy. Listen to that one. Do you know why pleasure makes you sad? Because if the definition of happiness is feeling good about myself, pleasure is the antithesis to that. It's just the opposite. Why? Because I need this in order to feel good. It means I don't feel good about myself. I need something from the outside. Pleasure requires an outside bodily stimulus. If I need that, whether it's a drink, whether it's a drug, whether it's whatever it may be, that means I don't really feel good about myself. If you ask the people that get addicted to outside substances, they'll tell you the biggest problem that they suffer is they don't feel good about themselves. And the more they take, and they try to feel good about themselves, the less good they feel about themselves. But they don't understand why. And the reason is because feeling happiness is feeling good about yourself. And outside needs in order to survive and to fill the emptiness that I feel make me feel worse about myself, not better. Anyway, that having been said, this is all besides the infinite, the myriad benefits that a person gains from the study of Torah, which gives us new insight into life and its values. You know, as far as the world is concerned, there's a prohibition against murder. Lo tirtzach. As far as Torah is concerned, that prohibition goes as far as forbidding us to embarrass a person publicly. The rabbis tell us that when I embarrass a person publicly, it's in the family of murder. I guess for that moment he wishes he was dead. Lotigno, stealing. Our rabbis tell us that if I greet you and I say good morning, and you don't respond, it's as if you stole from me. Just like stealing my money, but it's in the same family. Because I said hello, you didn't give me a response. You deprived me of something that you owed me. They gave us new definitions. The rabbis define breach of relationship. Machloket, the breach of shalom. When I say something to a person, I tell one of the definitions our rabbis tell us that if a person goes into a store and he asks, how much does this cost? And he has no intent of buying it. So he gave the store owner a little bit of false hope because he thinks maybe he has a customer and then he disappoints him. That's considered a breach of the peace. There's a peace. We're not fighting. In fact, you don't even know that I didn't intend to buy it. You think maybe I really intended to buy it. It was too expensive. But there's a little friction. It made me feel bad. The Torah concept is there's no peace anymore. There's something that missed. There's something that we can go on and on. So Torah teaches us values that are unknown to the world. In fact, the morality that does exist in modern society, do you know what they call it in our society? The Judeo-Christian ethic. Imagine that the Christians give Judaism the credit for the basis for their moral beliefs. Not Christian Judeo-Christian ethic. We have taught the world. We're the people of the book because we study the book. We're the people of the book because the book has been given and shared with the world. Wherever you go, you find the book. Everything is based on the book, whether it's Christianity, whether it's Islam or other religions. And they all recognize the fact that this is the only nation in all of history that had a public revelation of God Himself and explain the purpose of everything that is. I know it's the hour is late, but it was suggested that maybe we take a couple of questions from the floor before it's time to conclude. Yes,
you said if you desire anything outside of yourself, that means you're not fully happy. And then if you need, let's say, nice Gemara to be happy, let's say.
Well, I didn't say exactly that. A person who becomes dependent upon the outside pleasures to bring them in, such a person, that dependency diminishes his feeling good about himself. Because I am so needy. If you're very needy, you don't feel good about yourself. A guy who feels good about himself, I'm okay. But I have to be me okay. Not I'm okay because I take this in, and I'm okay when I take this in. If I need too many things from the outside to feel okay, then I don't really feel okay. We do have to get, as I mentioned, the body on board. But we have to realize that that's not the essence. The essence is that feeling good about myself. That comes from my sense of meaning in life, purpose, my sense of connection. Imagine the elevation. Imagine the flattery that a person feels when I'm close to my Creator. I study the word of my Creator, who He directly revealed to us. Wow. That's my purpose. And not only that connects me. You know, there's so much more to say about this, about the closeness and the connection that it makes between me and the Creator. It makes me feel so good about myself because, you know, me and him are the best buddies. You know, we're like this. We're inseparable. A person, through studying Torah, a person feels that closeness and closeness. Close because I was saying, you know, someone once said, I really never got straight who it was. He said, when I pray, I talk to God. When I study Torah, God talks to me. He talks back. He does talk back. He talks back in the study of Torah. The directives for living, for happy living, for successful living, for fulfilling living, He gives us in His Torah. So, and the truth is, there's a unique directive for each person. Everybody is different. In fact, the genius, the divine genius of Torah is the same volume, the same text, can serve the needs of so many diverse, different people, each one according to his own individuality. A 3-year-old child that studies the Torah, and a 100-year-old scholar who studied it thousands of times can all find fulfillment. Each one finds a message. Each one finds relevance. Each one finds... You know, one of my favorite examples that I give are, you know, there was a Jew who lived passed away about 40-some years ago in a Bari living. He was known as the CHAZAQ of Yerushalayim. He spent his entire life just doing chesed, being kind to people. People came to him in the middle of the day, in the middle of the night, just for his help. Kindness, 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 chesed all day long. He had a son. Today is, years ago, the son-in-law today is the undisputed posek of the world, Rabbi Shaya Cohen. He's 100 years old, and he's been sitting and studying Torah and deciding its halachas for the last, 85 years. 2 great scholars. Rabbi Shaya was also a great scholar. 2 completely divergent lifestyles within the rubric of Torah. Each one, great tzaddik, great scholar. Each one has to do. Rabbi Eliashib, day and night, the study of Torah. Rabbi Shaya, day and night, the pursuit of chesed. Each one according to Torah. The Torah has in it the individualized program for each and every member of the Jewish people. This in itself is the greatest of miracles. Is the divine fingerprint on this Torah, that it can be relevant to everyone, each one, in his own walk of life, in his own interests, in his own talents, in his own needs, in his own situations. This is when we study the Torah, we find this guidance. Yes?
You're speaking about Shorish, about actually your Shorish. I don't know if you finished that because you speak to happiness and pleasure. But the Shorish, I don't know where you said.
No, the Shorish means, the Shorish is Ishur. La'asher means to validate. The Shorish, the root of happiness, which means the definition of the word is validation. Feeling good about myself. When I feel good about myself, then I'm happy. I feel good about myself. The world is mine. I don't need anything else. Outside things I don't need. And number 2, I need. I have to live. But the outside things don't make me feel good about myself. To the contrary. The more needy that I become for outside pleasures, the more it contradicts my feeling good about myself. Because if I feel good about myself, I don't need anything else. The more that I will need, the less good I feel about myself. And the pleasures that I feel are temporary and fleeting because I take a drink, I feel good, before you know it, I feel bad. It's over. Okay. Yes?
Which one is
Yes.
the Torah?
The language, that's the language of the Torah and the Tanakh. Not modern Hebrew. The ancient Hebrew. That language, that's the language with which Hashem created the world. What's that? Everything. The whole Tanakh. The whole Tanakh is written, well, there's some pieces in Daniel, maybe it's a few other written in Aramis, in Aramaic, but very few. But that's the language, the main language. Yes, sir.
What's the difference of happiness when, if you explained, Rabbi, and the happiness that the person is striving for a purpose and for a challenge, and he achieves it, the greatest appreciation. As Sugi in the Talmud, a Chidush in Torah, it's not so. Is it self-happiness or is it I mean, sure, it's self-happiness. It becomes his happiness.
Yeah, it is,
But the
but-
challenge and the achievement.
That's right. But it's the challenge and the achievement in something truly meaningful. See, if it would be just, let's say, people feel it in mathematics or in chemistry or in physics or in something, but it's not as much because that's not the purpose of creation. This was not given to me by the Creator himself. You know, just to conclude, there was a study, it just was publicized not too long ago. I forgot the guy's name who did it, a social scientist, a psychologist, about 4 intellectual pleasures that he describes, that he calls it neocortical pleasures, sources of pleasure that a person feels in the brain. And he lists as follows. He says, one pleasure is the resolution of discrepancies, contradictions. When a person resolves contradictions, it gives a certain intellectual sense of pleasure. The second one is studying with a partner, interactive learning. The third one is figuring out the meaning of the teachings of people of a greater level, previous generation. The fourth one, he says, is adding a little bit of a bit of creativity, a chidush, a little bit of creativity of my own. He describes this as a scientist, a secular, a goy, describing exactly what the Torah learning process is. We resolve contradictions. That's one of the major functions. You study Gemara, that's what you do. We sit and study with a chavrusa, with a few people together. It's back and forth, it's interactive. It's not reading by ourselves. We rejoice in figuring out the pshat, in the giants, the meaning of the giants of the previous generations, of Rashi, of Tosfos, of so forth and so on. And the fourth one, and we have a special joy in when we're able to add a little bit of a chidush, a little bit of, I got a little twist, a little insight. That's my own. And this is what we do all the time. This is why Torah study is such a pleasure. I'd like to conclude, just so I know the hour is late, with one thought. We make a bracha on Torah study. We say, "V'harivnu Hashem Elokeinu v'stivei soros v'finu v'yamcho v'Yisrael." We say, Hashem, please make the study of Torah pleasant, sweet, in our mouths and in the mouths of all Jewish people. And then we say, "V'niyah anachnu v'tzetzoeinu v'tzetzoyamcho v'Yisrael," and therefore, based on that, will be us and our children and the children of all the people of Israel will all be Yodei Shemecha v'Loimdei Torasecha L'Shmo, people who will know Hashem through the study of Torah and study His Torah with the sincerest of intention. I ask you a question. We don't ask that it should be pleasant for our children. We say the Divrei Torah should be pleasant, befinu, v'yamcho v'Yisrael. And then we say we and our children will all study the Torah and they'll all be able to be knowledgeable. Why don't we ask that they should enjoy it? If the kids will enjoy it, so they too will study. It seems, I dare say, that if a person enjoys the study of Torah, that scene is so dynamic, is so inspiring, that when the children see it, they don't even have to experience it themselves. They will say, wow, this is something that I want to do. The joy is palpable. The joy permeates the entire room. And when a person sees that, he says, that's something for me. I remember once, many years ago, I was at the chuppah of the son of a friend of mine. And his father walks over to me and says, you see this nachas that he has today? He says, it's to your credit. I said, to my credit? I never studied in my yeshiva. I never learned with him. What? He says, my grandson grew up that every Monday night at 9 o'clock, he saw his father. I used to learn with his father in his living room, in his dining room. I used to study with his father, Gemara. You know, this went on for years and years. He says, he grew up seeing that pleasure. That's why he is what he is today. It's the power that Torah has on everybody else as well. Good evening. Enjoy. Enjoy your learning.